everyone. Welcome, 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 welcome. Oh my gosh. I hope you are having a lovely, 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 lovely night. I'm not gonna lie, I am tired tonight, and I had a little bit of a stomachache earlier, but it's better now, and drinking some ginger ale. But I'm telling you guys this because that is how invested I am in this story, and I have a feeling it's gonna be worth it tonight because I scrolled through just to see how long it would be, and it just looks like there's a lot of different parts. There's a lot of action. There's a lot of stuff that goes on, and I have a good feeling about it. Or I guess since it's scary, I could say I have a bad feeling about it. But don't worry, everyone. If you're using this video to relax, as some do, you'll still be relaxed. Just enjoy the sound of my voice. We're all in this together. Okay, so the first thing I like to do, whenever I make these videos, especially because like it's a lot of whispering and talking, they tend to be pretty long stories, I always like to have some type of beverage. So got this cup that is like my go-to cup now, and it's also just super fun to play with and look at. So anyways, I got a little bit of ginger ale in here, but not enough, and I felt like I also needed some more ice, which I also got because I thought, I was curious if it would be a good trigger or not. So if this part is in the video still, then it's a good trigger because that means I didn't edit it out. So okay, how can I do this without there we go. Let's see. Uh-oh, I have a bad feeling about doing it this way. Yep. So, fun fact, I don't know if this is an ADHD thing or this is just a me thing, but it doesn't matter how cold it is. So right now it's like, okay, I'm in Florida, so this is cold for Florida, sorry. Right now it's like 48 degrees. So anyways, my point being, no matter how cold it is, if it's a drink that's supposed to be cold, I like a lot of ice. If it's a drink that's supposed to be hot, then I like it really hot. Like that level of hotness that could almost burn your tongue. Yeah, I'm crazy. And I've just read that like people with ADHD, autism, or sensory processing disorder, or some people are just highly sensitive, that sometimes we either tend to be sensory seeking or avoidant. So like if I was sensory avoidant, then in that scenario with the temperature, I would want very mild, just temperatures. So, room temperature, nothing crazy. But me being a sensory seeker, I like that extreme flavor or that extreme sensation. And the same thing comes with like, I really like spicy food. I really like sour, all that intense stuff. So I find that stuff really interesting. Anyways, let's get this ginger ale open. It's still in the can, so I'm gonna open it over here because this shit loud. It always sounds so loud on my end, and then in the video it's a little less intense, like when I replay it. is the perfect amount for the cup. Ooh, I like that little sound. Alright, let's keep it going so you guys aren't here all night. Oh my gosh, there's nothing like ginger ale. I love ginger ale so much. It's so good. I like anything ginger. Okay, another thing I like to do before I read these stories, and I haven't done this every time, which probably a rookie mistake there. But with anything that has an intense energy and could be like a negative energy, you know, even though this is a pretend story, I like burning Palo Santo and or sage. I don't want to ramble too much because we're already at 6.5 minutes right now. Excuse me, but both of these things, burning both of these things, has been, you know, used in traditions to cleanse out negative energy and all of that. So that's why I do it. So I hold both of them in this abalone shell. So this is the sage. This is the Palo Santo. My personal favorite is Palo Santo in terms of the scent, but burning sage, just looking at it, is really relaxing to me. The smell of sage is nice too, but it's a little more like musky, I guess, whereas this kind of has like a sweetness to it. I don't know how to explain it. Oh wow, that's smoking right away. Ooh. Oh, awesome. So, there's our sage. Now I'm going to do some Palo Santo. My biggest, like, every time I do this, I'm always like, don't burn the mic, don't set the mic on fire, don't set the mic on fire. That would be bad. But what we do for ASMR, guys, we take some crazy risks. There's a lot of, this job is very dangerous. I'm just kidding, this isn't my job, but you know what I mean. Okay. Alright. Ooh, I love that smell. It smells so nice. Dang, I'm thirsty. I'm really bad about drinking enough water when I'm really busy. Work has been really busy for me. Oh yeah, don't mind me. So I had to take off my like press-on nails or whatever. So these are my natural nails, and I'm just gonna give them a break for a day or two. And I am gonna be filing them. Let me turn the volume down a little bit. Alright. There we go. Ooh. But press-on nails I have that I'll probably have in my next video. They're like a really cool dark metallic-y color. I'm excited for you guys to see. That's something I always look forward to, like doing different nails. It's fun. I promise I will start the story after this. let's start this story. Okay, now I want the volume up a little bit because I know I'm just gonna be whispering. So many adjustments, so many adjustments. That is me. I can't sit still. Okay. Alright, so I have it here on my iPad. That's why I'm looking over here. Okay. Okay, so this is my romantic cabin getaway. My fiance Faye is behaving strangely again. Farewell update. Okay, I'm on the right part. Okay, I'm just making sure. Alright, so this is part 14. Okay. The last time I updated, Faye's older sister Becca came to visit us with her infant son Caleb. The presence of this child seemed to have awakened something in Faye because her sleep disturbances have been more erratic and her unusual behavior has intensified. They stayed for almost a week but left abruptly after a few weird experiences with Faye. Becca seemed to be growing angry with Faye over the course of a few days, although I could never really discern why. One night when Faye was asleep, Becca and I sat on the couch and talked more about what had been happening. I asked her why she seemed so hostile toward her sister that day. She wouldn't even speak to her. And Becca replied, Faye really has a problem letting things go. If she's mad at someone, she's mad for weeks. If she's hurt, she's hurt for years. She can't forgive and she can't forget. I asked, did you do something to make her mad? Are you two fighting? Becca denied that they were having any sort of conflict and said that she was just speaking in general terms, having grown up with Faye. That's BS. I asked if there was something in the past that made Faye angry, and Becca sharply responded, nobody did anything to Faye. Nothing happened to her. At that point, she stood up and went upstairs, claiming she needed to check on Caleb and close the door without saying goodnight. Faye is sometimes difficult to handle because she's proud and stubborn and the strongest person I've ever met, but her sister is like an obsidian wall. Oh, that's a fun word. Obsidian. You can't get any information out of her. You can't read her poker face. You can't know what she's thinking ever. But I know that she knows something, and maybe I can't get it out of her, but I figured I'd be able to get it out of her mom. Becca Faye's mom, Laura, agreed to Skype chat with me this week. This time I'm going for the throat. Oh boy, okay, don't take it out on their mom, bro. What does she do to you? See, that's a weird comment to me. Okay, I successfully removed all the vomit, all the stains, all the V stains from the house. So Faye isn't talking to them in the dark anymore, but she is still getting worse, and I feel like she's slipping away. Seeing Faye hold Caleb on the couch with her eyes rolled back in her head and smiling was one of the most disturbing memories I have of this entire ordeal. There's something about Faye and that child that deeply unsettles me. Oh gosh, but I've been keeping quiet and trying to make sure that Caleb is safe. I have no reason to believe Faye would ever hurt another person. But as far as animals and kids, oh, and then there's an example of hurting another person, except for one time in college when she punched out a drunk girl at a party for grabbing my ass and saying I did it. She punched the girl. That's so lame. Okay, but as far as animals and kids go, Faye is angelic. Ooh, is she? The night that Becca stormed off to bed mid-conversation, Faye did something odd. I woke up to her mumbling in the dark, and when I turned on the light, she was standing at the far end of the room, cradling a pillow in her arms and swaying back and forth, half singing a lullaby. The words were unrecognizable, but the melody sounded distantly familiar. I called out to her and said, "Sweetie, what are you doing?" She replied in a low, grumbling voice, I always wanted to be a big sister." Her speech was slurred. She sounded drugged. I got up and gently ushered her back to bed and took the pillow away. When I did, she said, little corpse. No, that's so creepy. I asked, what do you mean? But she never replied. She just started that rhythmic breathing that lets you know your partner's fast asleep. Angela visited our house again the next evening, just after the sun went down. For those of you who don't remember, Angela belongs to the Shoshone tribe in California and is the daughter of a very important tribal elder. She first visited me and Faye when we got back to California. I need to remember to breathe. And told us that a malevolent spirit called the Hollow One was infatuated with my fiance. She said that there was a dark cloud over Faye that could not be easily removed. This time Angela brought her friend, who is the hypnotist, and they inspected the house and the yard. We told them about the barf stains, and Faye's claimed that he's in the stains. He gets up at night and walks around in the dark. Then in private I told them about baby Caleb's presence and how it exacerbated Faye's behavior. I also showed them where I found the new dream catcher. Angela said that this entity has many names and is known to several different Native American groups. It is older than the skinwalkers and the progenitor of many evil spirits that inhabit different places near the Rocky Mountains and Southwest. Her friend referred to it as a soul trader that snatches up a person's essence and takes it down into the dark, then enters the remaining body to seek out more victims. I don't know where the dark is, but allegedly that is where Faye is heading. With too much exposure to this thing, both Faye and I had become tainted by it. I knew it. This is why we were vomiting dark bile, and the stains still carried remnants of the evil. Angela spoke to Faye for a long time and concluded that she was still Faye, but on her way to somewhere else. She is making a spiritual journey into a place that she thinks is good and safe, but in reality she's being coaxed out of the world. Despite what happened to us, a lot of this whimsical metaphysical talk is sometimes hard for me to swallow, but the hypnotist session with Faye did a good job of convincing me that there is something there inside my house with us, always watching. Okay, I need a sip of this. Oh my gosh, it just keeps going. Okay. Sorry, that was, I'm like really fidgety, so I'm bouncing my leg, like shaking my leg. Anyways, so I have a dog gate like blocking this little office area. So that was what that sound was. Okay. The hypnotist had Faye lie in our bed, and we brought chairs from the dining room upstairs to sit with her. She put her hand on Faye's forehead and hummed a chant for a while, then covered Faye's eyes with her palm and asked her a few questions. They were things like, what's your name and who is your fiance? All of Faye's answers were normal. Then the hypnotist hummed some more and lifted her hand. Faye's eyes were rolled back in her head, which only happens when she's in a sleepwalking state. Her mouth was twitching a little bit. The hypnotist asked, who are you? And she responded, I am Faye. The important parts of the conversation went a bit like this. Faye, can you tell us who is in this house? Faye raised her arm slowly and pointed to each person in the room out loud and said their name, even though she was not looking at them. She knew where everyone was. Felix, Becca, Angela, you. And then she pointed at the wall and said, Caleb. He was in the other room. The hypnotist asked, is there anyone else? What about the man who has been following you? She shook her head and said, right now he is outside. We all glanced out the window to the tree line where I had first seen the figure walking back and forth, mimicking Faye's sleepwalking. This time there was no one there. Angela asked, what does he say to you? Is he talking to you right now? Faye replied, I can't hear him. He's facing the other way. The hypnotist asked, and what are the dream catchers for? Who makes them? Faye didn't respond. She smiled a bit. and said, "Honey, I found your hair wrapped into a dream catcher outside. Did you do that?" She put her finger to her lips and shushed me. Then she put her palm flat against the wall like she was feeling a pulse. After a few moments, she said, "He's here." Right when she finished her sentence, Caleb burst into tears. Becca and Angela rushed out of the room to go check on him. The hypnotist and I remained with Faye. The hypnotist finally went for broke and said, "Faye, sweetie, you wrote the number 5 on the window in the other room. You wrote it backwards. Why did you do that? What does it mean? Did you write it for someone outside to see?" In that moment, Faye's eyes rolled forward and her little green irises finally showed. She immediately looked toward the door that led into the house and hall and said, "No, he's listening now." Then she began hyperventilating and struggled to speak the words, "He'll find out." The last thing she said was "Felix" in a deep guttural voice. It wasn't her own. Then the hypnotist pressed her hand against Faye's eyes and spoke a loud command in her native language. Faye immediately woke up and seemed very confused about where she was, then started crying and reached out for me. I hurried over and held her in my arms. Her body was so cold, it was like she was a corpse. Oh my gosh. When she was crying, she said, "He wants to kill you. He wants you dead. I saw you in the trees." Angela, am the hypnotist. I haven't given her name because I don't want you to have to memorize a million names. Hurried around the house, blessing it in burning sage, then also recommended I call in a Catholic priest for Faye's personal comfort since she is Catholic. They left after a few words of parting, and Becca seemed really angry and scared at this point. She remained in her room for the rest of the night. I got a call about an hour later from Angela, who told me that she had discussed the situation with the hypnotist, and they believe that Faye is in extreme denial about something, perhaps some sort of trauma, and they said that she repressed it so well that it was consigned to a place in her subconscious that only years of therapy or hypnosis could unearth. It was in a place in her mind that could not even be accessed by talking to her in her sleep. That is where the number 5 rests, and that is why the entity hasn't yet found it. Despite communicating with Faye in her sleep virtually every night, he's drilling her brain like miners digging for gold. Wow. And the fun didn't end there. We all went to sleep pretty early that night because of all the drama, but as I've learned on so many other occasions, going to sleep upset usually results in a night terror or some other sleep disturbance for Faye. At around 2 a.m., she leaped out of bed, jolting me awake in the process, and bombed down the hall like there was a fire. She started bashing her fists against the door to the guest room, but didn't utter a single word. Her eyes were shut. I flicked on the light and stood there in the hall for just a second, scared stiff. But when baby Caleb started crying, I snapped out of it and rushed over. I bear hugged my fiance to try to get her to stop making so much noise, and in return, she tried to bite me. Oh my goodness. Faye has never been violent toward me in her life, even in her sleep. She is always a very passive sleepwalker, creepy, but passive. This time she was trying to rip my throat out. She was trying to draw blood. I fended her off and sort of apprehended her, then walked her back into the bedroom. She was basically wearing me like a straitjacket. When I carefully put her back in bed, she whispered, "You'll go up in the trees." He went down in the hall. Becca was understandably furious the next day, but she swallowed her anger and drove Faye down to the Catholic church at the town center. I went to work. Apparently, they finally got one of the priests to agree to visit next week to bless the house. They explained that this wouldn't be enough, so he said he'd speak with the bishop of his diocese. That could take a while. Oh boy. That evening, Becca informed me that she had changed her flight and she now intended to leave in 2 days. I begged her to set aside her differences with Faye and try to get through to her. I said Faye needs her big sister right now, but Becca wouldn't budge. She seems to be holding a monolithic grudge about something neither of them will tell me. Wow, so Becca is saying Faye holds grudges, but who holds the grudge? Okay, I ordered pizza, Faye's favorite, in a lame attempt at lightening the mood around the house. But the two only would have casual, light conversation with each other. And the tension in the house was so thick I could feel recall saying any of that, but that she did have a dream about seeing me impaled on a tree branch high up in the air. Oh my gosh, she said my skin and hair were missing. That's disturbing. Faye fell asleep pretty quickly, but I couldn't sleep at all. I remembered that Nathan, Taiwei's son, had left me a voicemail a few days prior, and I had forgotten to call him back, so I grabbed my phone and went downstairs. The house was quiet. Becca and Caleb were already asleep upstairs. I turned the TV on low to mask my conversation with Nathan. It was midnight in Colorado, but he answered the phone and he asked me how everything was going. I told him everything. Nathan had a lot to say. He apologized for making me and Faye sick, but said that a simple purging process was very common treatment for many physical and spiritual maladies in his tribe. However, by my description of the stain events, it obviously did not work, and we were still under the influence of the imposter. He said if we came back to Colorado, he would bring us to the elders of his community and request that they perform a more serious healing ritual. I told him that would be Faye's call entirely, but I doubt she would, or that the imposter would let her. Last month, when I was in the cabin by myself, there was a blizzard that shut down the only road down the mountain. The ranger couldn't come up to check on me, but Taiwei and Nathan, being the badass gentlemen that they are, actually hiked up the mountain through the snow and checked up on me. You can read that story at the bottom of this post if you haven't, but basically on their hike back, they heard Faye's voice calling out to them from inside one of the abandoned mines on Pikes Peak. Taiwei went to investigate and was dragged into the dark by an unseen creature or animal. Nathan eventually found him dead, and parts of his skin had been flayed. The reason that I hadn't been able to get a hold of Nathan for several days was because he and a group of men from his community went back to Pikes Peak to investigate the circumstances of his father's death and to explore the cabin. They camped for a few nights and even spent one night in the woods next to the cabin. Nathan heard Taiwei's voice calling out for help over and over, crying and speaking Nathan's name. However, occasionally the voice would cry out in Zuni, which is a language that some Pueblo tribes speak, but their tribe does not. They speak Hopi. So Nathan was fairly certain that this was not, in fact, his father. They also heard children weeping in the forest. One of Nathan's friends left the tents to take a piss, and he claims he saw a naked child with grayish skin standing a dozen yards off, facing away, looking up at the trees. He looked like a stiff corpse and was standing high up on the balls of his feet. This sight apparently scared Nathan's friend so bad he took off, grabbing his things, and went to hike back down the mountain in the dark, in the cold, by himself. Nathan and the others tried to stop him, but it was too dangerous to go after him. They haven't seen him since. Nathan told me that he had recurring dreams of a child while on the mountain, of a child and a fae. He said to me, "Tell me about the child, Felix." During our conversation, I had been standing in the living room, facing the sliding glass door, looking out in the backyard. Right when Nathan said, "Tell me about the child," I saw a large shadow move behind the orange tree outside. I told Nathan to hold on a second and went to grab the flashlight from the kitchen. Oh gosh, when I got there, I almost collapsed in fright. The front door was wide open. From my front door, you can see the tree line across the street. Someone was walking behind the trees. I could see them slowly moving between them. I set down the phone and ran upstairs to wake Faye and Becca, but Faye wasn't in bed. I frantically rushed to Becca's room to see if Faye was with her, but Becca was fast asleep and was really disturbed at my urgency when I woke her up. We turned on the light, and she went to grab Caleb, but he wasn't in the little crib Faye had bought for him. He was gone. Oh, goodness, okay. Becca turned into the Hulk in about 0.5 seconds flat. She started shrieking in rage and terror, screaming, "Where is he? Where's my baby?" over and over. We dashed around the house looking for Faye and Caleb, but couldn't find them, and then I realized that she had taken him outside. We ran out there barefoot straight to the trees and came up behind Faye. My fiance was standing there in her underwear, looking up into the trees. Her arms were outstretched, holding Caleb up in the air as if offering him to someone above. High up on one of the branches was the dream catcher, the one I had taken down and broken only days earlier. Now it was intact. Becca grabbed Caleb out of Faye's hand and shoved her to the ground, then took the baby back inside. I picked Faye up and rushed her back into the enjoyed this video and you aren't already, please subscribe and comment what you think. Alright everyone, I will see you all so soon.